In a small village nestled beside a quiet wood lived a girl named Elara. She did not speak with words, like the other children did. Her voice was a different kind, a silent kind. It lived in the tips of her fingers, in the gentle dance of her hands. Elara's hands held brushes, thin and thick, warm with love. With these brushes, she told her stories to the world. She painted her thoughts, her dreams, her quiet observations. Her colors were her words, her canvas was her stage for all to see. Elara found her joy in the brilliant hues of her paint pots, deep ocean blues that whispered of faraway places, sunny yellows that held the warmth of a summer morning, soft, gentle whites that felt like a comforting cloud. Each shade she created was a feeling, a memory, a hope. The villagers sometimes watched her, puzzled by her silence, but Elara simply smiled and continued to paint her world. Her art was her truest friend, her most honest way to connect. The village had been a place of shadows, a quiet sadness. Laughter was seldom heard. Hope felt like a forgotten story. People walked with stooped shoulders, eyes to the ground. They carried their worries like heavy stones in their pockets. Elara saw the unspoken sorrow in her neighbor's eyes. She knew she could not speak the words to comfort them, but she had her colors, her brushes, her understanding heart. She decided then, with a quiet resolve, to paint away some of the grayness from their lives. One evening, Elara sat by her window, gazing into the deep night. The sky above was a dark velvet blanket, vast and endless, and scattered across it were countless stars like tiny, distant diamonds. They twinkled and shimmered, each one a tiny beacon of light. Elara felt a pull towards them, a connection she couldn't explain. She decided she would capture their magic, their silent, hopeful glow. She would bring the stars down from the sky and onto her canvas. Her first paintings of the stars were simple, yet full of feeling. She chose the deepest blues and purples for the endless night sky. Then, with delicate touches of white and silver, she painted the stars. Some were tiny pinpricks of light, others were bold and radiant. She poured all her unspoken wishes, all her quiet hopes into them. Each brushstroke was careful, deliberate, filled with her silent song. She wanted to share the peace she felt when looking at the night. Her little room glowed with these miniature painted constellations. Elara, with a shy heart, decided to share her starry creations. She carefully placed one small painting in her window, facing the lane. Villagers, on their daily routines, began to notice the new art. A child, walking hand in hand with her mother, stopped and pointed. Her eyes grew wide with wonder at the sparkling painted sky. An old farmer, usually lost in his thoughts, paused his weary steps. The stars on canvas began their gentle, silent conversation. Word began to spread, a quiet murmur through the somber village. More people found themselves drawn to Elara's window each day. Her paintings of stars grew more ambitious, more breathtaking. A fragile, new feeling started to stir in the heart of the village. The starlit canvases Elara shared began to work a subtle magic. They did more than just decorate a window. They touched souls deeply. They reminded the villagers of a beauty that still existed in the world, a beauty that shone brightly even in the midst of their despair. People started to talk about the paintings, sharing their interpretations. One saw a memory of a loved one in a distant star's glow. Another found a promise of new beginnings in a swirling galaxy. Hope, once a distant flicker, began to burn a little brighter. The heavy blanket of sadness that had covered the village started to thin. It was as if Elara's stars were gently pushing the shadows away. People began to lift their gazes, not just to her paintings, but higher. They looked at the real stars in the night sky with new appreciation. A sense of connection, long dormant, began to reawaken. Neighbors started to greet each other with a little more warmth. Small acts of kindness, like forgotten seeds, began to sprout again. The village was slowly, carefully, learning to breathe and hope once more. Elara, the girl who painted stars, never uttered a single spoken word. Yet her message resonated more clearly than any loud proclamation. Her paintings were her voice, and they spoke of courage and resilience. They whispered that even in the deepest darkness, light persists. They showed that dreams are worth holding on to like precious jewels. Her silent expressions held an immense and undeniable power. They reached into the hidden corners of people's hearts, and from the inside out they began to change the village's world. Her legacy was a sky full of hope painted by a silent, shining star.